I remember this day like it was yesterday. It was in 2015. I was sitting down and waiting for my chance to come up so that I could go in and do my interview and get admitted for Bachelor's in Chemistry, St. Xavier's 2015. And I think 30 minutes before I was supposed to walk in, I started menstruating, and it was pathetic. Like I can speak about it and I can still feel the pain. It used to be really bad, and I've always had really bad periods. So I got my menstruation the first time when I was in 10th standard, which is pretty healthy. And but ever since I think 10th, 11th, 12th, first year of college, my periods have always been, I used to dread that, okay, it's that time of the month again and I'm going to bleed again and it's just going to be so painful. But at the same time, I used to look at women, ladies, a few girls here and there who would have like no issues at all when it came to menstruation, and they used to just sail through it so easily and effortlessly. And it made me wonder so as to why certain women have so many issues when it comes to their hormones and when it comes to menstruation, and why is it such a big deal for us while for others they just sit like it's just another day. And that is how I got into it. And 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 2020 has been the year where I've been able to catch a hold of, oh okay, this is what happens, this is how it goes off, and this is how I can balance it, and this is how I can also sail through menstruation. Okay, so I have seen both ends of the scale, where I used to curse being a woman, like why do we have a female body? And at least for me, I grew up believing that menstruation is supposed to be something that is really painful and hurtful, and that is just the way God supposed for us to be like. And it was all a myth. Honestly, it's all a myth. Of course, I'm sure there are certain conditions and certain people for whom it is different, but at least with me, I knew that something was off in my body, and also my lifestyle, my eating habits, my weight, everything was all over the place, my sleep schedule and everything. So of course that had a huge impact on the way I used to bleed and the way my menstruation used to make me feel. Okay, and that is how I got into it. And it took me almost 5 years for me to be able to sit here and tell you menstruation is one of the most rewarding things that we as a female experience after, of course, being pregnant and giving birth to a child. And I think it's one of the finest things. And when it comes to hormones, I just don't want to specifically speak about women, because men have as much as we do, of course in lower quantities, and it's a little different. But when you look at insulin, cortisol and testosterone, and even minute amounts of estrogen, they have it. Minute amounts of male hormones, we will also have it, but it's beautifully divided. And it just made me believe that nature cannot do anything that would just physically give us pain until we walk in and create a hindrance inside the body. Okay, so we are all very familiar with circadian rhythm, which is great, and it is very important and we should look into it. But at the same time, there is something known as infradian rhythm that is only limited to female bodies and us, and we as a woman have the capacity and ability to just have a good infradian rhythm and be in sync with the nature. So circadian is 24-hour cycle, which affects your 28-day cycles when it comes to infradian rhythms. Okay, so every month that we menstruate, that is a clear sign, and it's like a report of how the last 30 days or how last 28 days of your life were, and that would speak and show in the menstruation that you would experience every single month. So it's like a report card of how your behavior was in the last 30 days. So every month our body is giving us the feedback, and it is so important, it is so blissful. And with me just speaking about these things, so when I made my periods effortless, and I love menstruating, I look forward to my periods because of the way it makes me feel and because of the hormonal fluctuations that I can actually feel, because I'm aware that it's there, so I'm able to focus there and look at it. And I just want all girls as much as possible to feel the way I feel, and to feel the way a lot of other females feel when it comes to menstruation. And I don't want anyone to not go to office, not go to job, not be at home and just lie in bed and cry and feel nauseous, dizzy, PMS, vomit, eat chocolates, eat carbs. I don't want any woman to go through this. Eat your chocolate, eat your carbs. I'm not saying that, but I don't want anyone to be in pain. And this is why I'm sitting here and filming this, just to let you know that I've been at the both ends, and I promise you, you can come back from here to here if you exactly, and if you're like, you know, disciplined enough. So your ABCDE of health, if you're really into that, this H is going to be very, very easy. Okay, so speaking about hormones, hormone comes from the Greek word that is HORMON, which basically means setting things in motion. Okay, and just to give you a scientific definition, that would be hormones are certain proteins that would go to a cell, dock on its receptors, ask or command the cell to do something, and as soon as that work is done, cell would come back, information would come back, and it would say hormone that it's done, and the hormone can dock off the receptor and it can walk away. Okay, now what happens is, so when we speak about hormones, we have top 6 hormones, and it's like we have more, but I'm just going to focus on top 6 hormones, and that would be my most favorite: estrogen, progesterone, again extremely beneficial, my favorite. Testosterone is okay. I love cortisol, I love insulin, and I love thyroid hormone. Okay, so these are like your sassy hormones. Okay, you need a nice balance of this. And when we speak about hormones, always remember, it's never like one hormone is just going to work. Hormones, all of them have to work in sync. If it does not work in sync, that is what we term as hormonal imbalance. And when it works in sync, that is we call heaven on earth. That's your beautiful health. Okay, so that's your hormones. So basically, hormones means setting things in motion. So it's like these are all the dancers, and it's going to come and command and ask you to act in a certain way according to what your properties, according to what your capacity is, and according to what your best dance move is, and then you're going to come back and then you're going to just act accordingly. Okay, so when it comes to hormones, it has also a lot to do with the brain, because you have hypothalamus and you have pituitary gland. So let's say there is something known as HPA axis. That would be your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenal glands. Okay, then there would be something known as HPT axis. That would be your hypothalamus, pituitary, and thyroid. So what is actually happening with this axis? I'll come back to this later. I want to speak about hormones first. So when I speak about the 6 hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and cortisol, these 4 are your steroidal hormones, which what means is it's made out of fat. It's also known as sex hormones, and it's made out of fats or lipids, or say just the circulating LDL inside the blood. And cholesterol is actually the most significant portion that is going to help in the formation of the mother of all hormones, that's your pregnenolone. Okay, it's, don't go into the words, but it is the mother of all hormones, and this hormone is then going to help us in making of the steroidal or the sex hormone. So that's your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and cortisol. These 4, I'm not speaking about insulin, I'm not speaking about thyroid, I'm just speaking about the 4 sex hormones, and it's these 4. Okay, now what happens is, conversion of the cholesterol into making the mother of all hormones, it's a very energy extensive process. It needs energy. Okay, and where do we get that energy from? So again, go back to the top 5 real sources of energy, and one of the very important things would be food, and not just carbs, proteins, and fat, but also your micronutrients, your micro minerals, vitamins, and nutrients that a lot of us tend to overlook. But you need this minute nutrition for this energy extensive process to take place. So always go back to that. You know, one thing that we have studied in biology, the formation of ATP from the glucose, that's a real energy that's produced by the mitochondria. So your glucose, it is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, into pyruvate, it goes through Krebs cycle, you get your NADH, FADH2, and then you get your ATPs. Okay, so basically, again, this needs energy, and your body needs the fuel for it to be able to burn it and have the energy, and that also comes from the food. And that is why your food affects your hormones. Let's say you don't have enough cholesterol, or you are on a low fat diet, or you are someone who eats low fat Greek yogurts and low fat food, and you don't put oil in your khana, and you don't put fat, you don't eat ghee. So if you don't have the basic foundation, the hormone is not going to be made in the first place. So who is going to do the dance when there are no dancers? dancers. So you need the dancers, okay? And you need the fat. You must have good quality fat. So there is good carbs, there is bad carbs, there is good protein, there is bad protein, there is good fats, and there is bad fat. So your ghee, your coconut oil, your avocados, your olives, your cold pressed vegetable oils, your sesame oil, mustard oil, all of these things are great sources of fat. And if you want to balance your hormones, this is your best bet, eating correct food. And this is how food is related, because you need cholesterol in the very first place when it comes to the formation of hormones. So if you are on a pill that's constantly decreasing the cholesterol, or if your vitamin D is not in place, that also affects the cholesterol. If your B12 is not in place, that also affects the health of the liver. It's very connected, and that can also lead to hormonal imbalance. So it's not like your body is not making hormones. Sometimes it's like it's making too much of it or too little of it, okay? So I've already spoken that these are 4 sex hormones, but speaking about insulin and thyroid, that would be your peptide hormones. And for this, you need the synthesis of protein or your amino acids, okay? And it's not just protein and amino acids, it's also some cofactors that would be needed for your body to be able to make cortisol and insulin, and that would be your B factor, your B complexes, and it could be something as simple as selenium and zinc, which is a very trace mineral. You need it in very minute quantities, but if you are deficient in this one thing, a lot of 90% of the thyroid people who have thyroid dysfunction are deficient in this vitamin. And like I said, insulin and thyroid needs this at the base point for it to be even able to form inside the body, okay? And when I speak about B complex, I mean your B1, B2, B3, B6, B17, B15, B12, B9, all of the hormones in sync. We need it, okay? So your insulin, thyroid, and your estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, and all of these things. Now you need a balance of these things. It's not just one hormone, it's the art and the art that we experience on a daily basis, and the music or the feeling that we experience on a daily basis, or that's the fluctuations in the hormones, comes from the fact that how beautifully are all of these things dancing together. And yes, anyone can affect anyone. We need a good balance of all of these things, male and female both. Of course, with testosterone, which is a male dominant hormone, when we have excess of that, which is also known as androgens, and we have excess of that in a female body, that's when you have PCOD, that's when you have facial hair, that's when you have acne and cystic acne and hormonal acne. It comes from the fact that there is too much of testosterone. You need testosterone, okay? If the testosterone is low, it will also lead to weight gain, okay? It will also lead to low libido. It would also lead to irritability. So in minute quantities, you still need it. So just taking a medication, that's so basically, when you speak about oral contraceptive pills, what it is going to do is it is actually going to increase something known as SHBG, that's your sex hormone binding globulin, which is going to attach to testosterone that is floating inside of your blood, inside a female's body. It's going to attach to it, and it's going to decrease it, okay? So when all of it is gone, do you wonder that you always feel anxious and depressed and emotional and just always feel tearful and you feel like crying? It comes from the fact that everything is gone, okay? You have excess of testosterone, you take a pill, and it goes below normal. So now this below normal also kills you, and more than normal also kills you, because your body likes balance. So when you look at your blood sugar levels, your body always wants to be in balance of, let's say, 80 to 100 or 120, okay? If it goes to 70, if it goes to 130, 140, 150, that's when you are either in hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia. Your body does not like hyper or hypo. Your body likes balanced blood sugars, and it will do anything in this world to balance your blood sugar levels, okay? Now speaking about hormones, your body is our body is extremely smart and intelligent. It's beautifully synchronized. If you just do the basics, it takes care of you like no one else can. Just a second. My mouth is so dry. Okay, okay. So, where was I? Just speaking about body, it's very smart, okay? It knows what you need, it knows what you don't need, and it can always be in balance until you do something that disrupts it, okay? So let's speak about thyroid. You have something known as HPT axis. Now your hypothalamus is the main control center, but then your pituitary is someone that is the master gland, and it takes care of all of the endocrine organs and the endocrine system. Now again, glands produce hormones. organs don't, at least most of them don't. This is one of the major differences between a gland and between a hormone. Your thyroid gland is going to be able to produce the hormone, not necessarily by organs. There are few exceptions, but majorly this is what is the differences. Okay, so if I speak about your hypothalamus, pituitary and thyroid gland, what happens is your hypothalamus has certain neurons that would start producing something known as TRH. Okay, that would be a thyrotropic releasing hormone. This TRH travels to the pituitary, and pituitary will now start releasing TSH. Okay, that's your thyroid stimulating hormone. TRH goes to TSH, TSH goes to thyroid, and then the gland produces hormones, that's your T4 and T3. Now T4 and T3 is great, but T4 is just like a precursor. It needs to be converted into the active form for it to be able to dock onto a lot of cell receptors inside the body and for it to be able to function. Now if once the T3 and T4 is released, it's supposed to travel back to the hypothalamus and ask it to stop releasing TRH. That was the first hormone that it was releasing. It's supposed to travel back and it's supposed to tell it that I'm done, there is enough of thyroid hormones and you don't need to produce a lot of it. Now what happens when someone has hypo or hyperthyroidism is, so it's like, I am trying to call you. So let's say you're sitting in the other room, okay, and I'm trying to call you and I'm asking you for a glass of water. Okay, so I tell you, hey, give me a glass of water, and I am TRH and you are the thyroid hormone, and you're not able to listen to me. Okay, I'm telling you I need a glass of water and you don't respond back. I need a glass of water and you don't respond back. So what that is going to do, it is just going to, now that you're not responding to what I am saying, I will start to increase my voice. And when I say increase, I will be hyperactivated. I will start producing more things because you're not listening to me. So I'll start producing more TRH, more TSH, more T4, more T3, and the balance goes away because one or the other is not listening. So ideally what happens is, when there is enough, it should come back to the TRH and ask it to not produce it more. So like it has to come back to the hypothalamus and ask it to stop making more of these things. Okay, but when this feedback loop does not take place, or when there is a negative feedback loop, that is when you have hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. That is when you have hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia. So that's the issue with insulin, that's the issue with diabetes or diabetes type 2, or people and women who have PCOD. This is what the major problem is, that the insulin is not working properly. When we speak about progesterone, a lot of female who go through PMS always know that there is an imbalance not just in your estrogen but also in your progesterone, because your progesterone is a relaxation kind of a hormone. Okay, it takes care of you, it takes care of your mood, it puts you to sleep, it's very soothing. Okay, estrogen can give you a high, testosterone can make you feel wild and angry and aggressive and arrogant, all of the male dominant qualities. But when you just look at progesterone, it's very, very calming. So that's why, when we are in the menstrual phase, we try to be a little bit inside of us and just be calm and all of these things. Again, always remember, all of these hormones, and for them to be balanced, they are going to need the correct nutrition, they are going to need correct sunlight, they're going to need correct amount of oxygen, and that is how the dancers are going to be able to dance. Okay, so if you don't give them the correct platform to stand on, they cannot dance, and you are the one who is going to suffer. So when I just speak about progesterone, female who have a lot of cervical discharge, which is also known as leukorrhea, a lot of women would have a lot of it, a lot of women would not have it. So I'm not saying that it's negative to have it, but it should be in very, very minute quantities, like almost not there. Okay, that would be the safest and best place to be in. If you have a lot of white discharge, if it is foul in smell, and let's say you have a lot of vaginal dryness, vaginal itching, and just a lot of issues down there, always remember it has a lot to do with your hormones. Something as simple as not having the desire to have sex at any point in the month, or just having low libido all throughout the day and all throughout the month, all throughout the year, also speaks volumes about that your hormones are not balanced, because having sex is a very, very natural thing, and especially when you're married and all of these things, it should be there. If it's not there, then it's an issue. Now it's up to you, you do it before marriage, after marriage, I'm not speaking about that, but just having sex is something very natural, and you should have the desire to do it, because it is also great for your body, great for your hormones, great to balance the hormones done correctly, safely, respectfully. It's amazing. Okay, so all of these hormones, so your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, they are not always high and they're not always low. So there are certain phases or days in the month when they would be at their lowest. So let's say when I am menstruating, or when all of us are menstruating, our estrogen, progesterone and testosterone is going to be at its lowest, okay? And when slowly I go into my follicular phase, my ovulatory phase, so slowly the hormones are going to start rising, and when you are in sync with this cycle, you're going to be able to feel it, okay? So as soon as the menstruation is over, and now that the fertilization has not taken place and the endometrium lining has shed itself away, what is going to happen is your body is now going to start elevating slowly your estrogen, your testosterone, your progesterone, and it will just start making you feel more alive, more energetic. You'll be able to work out better. So if you are, let's say, chronically stressed at this point, and if your body has to pick one between cortisol and progesterone, or say cortisol and estrogen, your body is always going to manufacture cortisol and not these hormones, because I don't need sex hormones if I'm going to die, okay? So if you are in a stressful situation, or if it's an SOS kind of a situation, your body is going to produce cortisol, which is a peptide hormone, okay, which is a sex hormone, but cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands in response to stress. So a little bit of cortisol is amazing. We need it, okay? So if you have the drive to do things, if you just have this energy to do things and get things done and get out of bed and work out well and just, feel well, feel great, have this extra exuberant of energy, that means that you have good amount of cortisol and it is in balance. So always remember, your body does not like too low, too high. It wants to be in balance. So your blood sugar levels, your hormones, your cortisol, everything has to be in balance, okay? So when I speak about cortisol, your body produces cortisol when you are in a stressful situation. So let's say I am standing outside and I have to walk into my boss's cabin, and I know he's going to yell at me and something is going to go off, and I'm just so scared, like what is going to happen, what is she going to say, what I'm going to say, and how will this go, this is such a pathetic day, and all of these things. So all of these thoughts just makes my body think, oh, okay, she's in danger. You don't have to worry about her menstruation, you don't have to worry about estrogen and progesterone. Store fat, do whatever you need to do, but right now produce cortisol, because she needs to deal with this situation. So what happens in this modern time is we are all constantly under some kind of stress. So even if there is no stress around us, the stress is inside the body. We are always subconsciously holding on to tension, and this tension always makes your brain think that, oh, okay, I need to produce cortisol and I don't need to produce estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, because I don't need it. This person might die, and what would I do with digestion and menstruation and production of sex hormones or production of pregnenolone if the person is going to die? So the body is only going to focus on cortisol, and the more cortisol you have, the more it is going to eat up your muscles, eat up your fat, and that weight loss is not going to be healthy. So higher the cortisol, it could be two things, okay? It could make you store excess of fat, or it could take away a lot of fat to convert it into energy to protect you. But if you do it incorrectly, if you exhaust yourself, and this is why I'm so against exercising every single day, and you should be exercising when, say, you are menstruating and you feel great, still you should not put a lot of, because exercise of any kind is a stress to the body. So movement is natural. Exercise, putting weight and working against gravity, doing strength training, compound training, and all of these things, it's a stressful activity, which is great, and you should do it at the correct time. But if you do it at the incorrect time, it's actually going to make you put on weight. So just a lot of women who run marathons, and they are just into fitness and all of these things. So I have consulted 40-50-year-old women who have just taken care of their physical health all their life, and now they've exhausted their adrenals. It's no longer producing cortisol, or it's no longer shutting the production of cortisol, which, by the way, your body cannot do on its own. You have to do it, you have to initiate it from the outside, and of course by breathing techniques and meditation and all of these things. But they have exhausted their cortisol, which has in turn lead to in less production of estrogen, less production of progesterone. And these hormones, it's not just for your periods, it's also for the way you look, it's also for the way you feel, it's also for your hair, it's also for your skin, it's also for your bone health, it's also for your brain health, it's also for the way you deal with life, it's also for your emotions. So fluctuation between these hormones is also going to make you feel like crap. So if there is certain period or certain time in the month that makes you feel like crap, it has a lot to do with hormones, and not just one thing could make you cry today and that thing would be almost nothing the other day. So that again is your hormones making you deal in a certain way. But if you're chronically, constantly stressed, and if your cortisol is always elevated, it is going to have an impact on your menstruation. So when you are, so let's say you menstruation date is 28-day cycle, okay, you have a 28-day cycle, and suddenly it's 35, or suddenly it's 32, 33, and you are stressed that my menstruation last time was this much and now it is this much, something has gone off, I don't know if I have PCOD and something is off. But you don't realize that again, that amount of stress is also going to delay the periods. So just sitting here and thinking about it, if you feel fairly good, if you're healthy, the periods is going to come, okay. Cycle sometimes readjusts itself, which is completely normal, okay. So you just have to take care of this thing. So your cortisol, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, insulin, thyroid, these are the finest hormones, and the more balanced these are, the better you're going to feel. Now, just speaking about PCOD in particular and thyroid in particular, I'm going to touch upon it, maybe diabetes and cholesterol too, but right now you just need to understand that these hormones and their dance is very much connected to the way you think, walk, move, breathe, sleep. You need a minimum of 7 to 8 hours for these hormones to be balanced naturally and on its own. And if you by any reason are not able to do it most days of the week or the month, it's going to show up in your period cycle, okay. And it might be okay right now, but the older you get, the harder it is going to be, because your body loses its capacity to make it in certain amounts. And you always have to remember, so let's say a quick example, women who go through menopause, they will suffer from a lot of hot flashes and all of these things, and we say because you're getting into menopause and your estrogen is going down, your body is not producing enough hormones. That's actually not correct. So when we speak about estrogen, it is produced by the ovaries majorly, yes, but it's also produced by your adrenal glands, the same glands that is producing cortisol, and fat cells. Your fat cells can also make estrogen. So women whose ovaries shut down after a certain period of time, which is very natural, still have a backup organ, that's your adrenal glands, to make that hormone. So if by any reason the body is not doing that, it means that over the years, in the last 40-50 years, you have exhausted your body and your body is not able to do it. So this is why I say, if you are right now 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25 years old, take care of your body. Make sure that you're not exhausting your glands, and make sure that you start sinking in with your cycle before it's too late. So if you want a healthy menopause, and if you don't want to go through just hot flashes and night sweats and excess weight gain, stubborn weight gain, not being able to lose weight and all of these things, you start today for a better tomorrow, especially for female and also for male. I will also speak about testosterone, but this is something that you need to know. And this is just the basic, like this is like 0.1% or just a drop in the pool or the ocean that hormones is, but this is something basic that you need to know. And I think in my next videos I'm just going to build up on this, but as of now, the sassy hormones, the 6 sassy hormones, is something that you need to know about. And if you have any queries, put them down in the comment section, or you can message me, and if there is something in common, I will get back to it and I will answer. And I hope it helps. Take care of yourself.